if your DM does have a pretty clean time frame of how long they want dungeons to take, if you can go into it knowing that, oh, I have a DM that has 20-minute adventures is what they tend to be, a doubling 10-minute spell can be great. You might have a DM that has dungeons that last 5 hours, and all of a sudden you're doubling to 10, 20 doesn't matter at all.
Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns Creatures series of comedy, fantasy novels, and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're talking about Sam's top 5, 6, whatever top picks for the best spells to use with the extended spell Metamagic option for sorcerers.
Yeah, this is by no means encompassing. There are a lot of spells in this game. But these are some spells I think that an average sorcerer will be able to get a lot of use out of with the extended spell meta magic. That's the premise, at least. I think these ones are going to be pretty solid with extended spell.
Yes, and as usual, you can follow along. There'll be a written version of this linked in the description. Taking a look at these, they all seem to have a common theme.
There's one outlier per your request,
Yes.
I think, whenever I sent it over to you.
I said, surely there's got to be one.
Yeah. So, extended spell, I'm going to start by reading it. It says, when you cast a spell that has duration of 1 minute or longer, you can spend a sorcery point to double its duration to a max duration of 24 hours. Now, there's some fundamental issues with this text, and it's most spells are designed with a duration that's longer than they need. And by that, I mean, like, a minute-long spell usually reads 1 combat encounter,
right,
because very rarely does a encounter go longer than 10 rounds. An hour-long spell is like kind of a dungeon. That one's a little bit more nebulous as to how long a dungeon takes, but often a dungeon's going to fit within an hour of movement time. So that means doubling durations of things is going to have a little bit of an issue. But that changes whenever you add a different duration in. There's a cap on this of 24 hours, but under 24 hours doubling means you can go from 8 to 16 hours. And when you go from 8 to 16 hours, you might notice you can cram a rest in between that duration. By cramming a rest in that duration, all of a sudden you're getting a free cast of an 8-hour duration spell in practice, which can be very powerful, which is where a lot of these tend to end up landing on.
And I know off the top of my head, one 8-hour spell that you can just straight up, like Mage Armor is what I'm thinking of.
Yes.
Yeah, just straight up extend it, you have it all day.
Exactly. That is the exact kind that we're sort of looking at here.
That's on the list. Was that the one I requested?
No, that was the one that I started with. Don't you worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mage Armor, I think it's my number 4. It is the nice thing with this on sorcerers don't have a great AC. This gives them a way to have a great AC without spending any spell slots. So where wizards kind of still have to stick a spell slot into this, sorcerers with extended spell, you just do it last long rest. And as long as you end a long rest with the first level spell slot, you kind of get a full spell slot for the next long rest. And a neat part about adventuring is if you adventure with downtime, you will have spell slots aplenty before an adventure to use for the extended spell Mage Armor, which is pretty cool. You get to go into the adventure with a whole lot more AC than you would before, making it my number 4 for that reason. Neat. It's interesting.
I didn't mean to skip ahead on your list.
All as well. But yeah, that's a fine place to start as number 4, as everyone knows. Now, the actual number 5 might deserve higher, might deserve lower. It has the issue that 2 other options on this list have is that it's limited to a single sorcerer subclass unless you're multiclassing. Because it's Aura of Vitality, which is accessible to sorcerers through Divine Soul, or multiclassing Cleric. If you have any levels in Cleric, you can prepare it as long as you have the slots for it, which are 3rd level, or you can be Divine Soul and you can learn it that way. The reason doubling the duration of Aura of Vitality, which is the only non-8-hour spell on this list, is meaningful, is it has an effect that multiplies in effectiveness by the number of turns there are. And this is probably the most commented spell in all of this channel's history under a video that says Sam is underrating this effect. And this is an example of that, because it lets you use an action to heal 2d6 hit points. Normally, it only lasting 10 turns means your pool is limited to 70 hit points. If you extend spell, you're kind of getting a 20 or a 2-minute 140 hit point boost, which is a gigantic parry. It's like twinning Aura Vitality whenever you cast it with extended spell. And I think, commenters, let me know if there are other effects like this in the game. This is the only one I could come up with that is majorly benefited from this. I think this is actually the one you pointed out, Bob. Even to me, you're like, surely this goes great with it, or something to that effect.
Well, I mean, no, you picked this one, I think. I said, surely, because, the rest of these, spoiler alert, all have the little cheeky, okay, I'm going to take a rest and, get a free use of this later. I said, surely, and I get it. I know 1 minute to 2 minutes is not going to be very effective. That's one combat and a minute after the combat's finished. Not useful. An hour to 2 hours, that I could see a little more wiggle room depending on how big the dungeon is. Now 10 minutes to 20 minutes, like, I'm not even sure what a 10-minute spell is for.
An encounter and a half?
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like extending that to 20 minutes might, if the 10 minutes is useful, then the 20 minutes might be. I don't know. But what I said to you, I said, surely there must be some kind of outlier, some spell where doubling its duration will be meaningful. And yes, you came up with, okay, well, if I got to put one on here, it's Aura of Vitality.
And like, I will also say this, the reason it's my number 5 is I'm not sure going from 70 to 140 is all that much more meaningful, especially if rests are like an option, just because I'm not often finding there to be that many encounters between rests. If there are, 70 bonus hit points is plenty. And if I'm going to spend Metamagic on things, I don't know if I want to spend it on healing.
It is just 1 point.
Yeah, it's true. 1.4 an extra 70 hit points isn't technically a lot of hit points. I could definitely see there being encounters where it's like, wow, we just took a beating and we have to go face the boss. Thank God I have Extend Spell or Vitality so I can bank a 3rd level slot for this. I can see that occurring. I just don't see it occurring that often. I don't often think a group needs an extra 70 hit points on top of an Aura of Vitality healing bump. It's ghoulish overkill at that point to me. It's still cheap, and the cheapness, the cost of it definitely keeps it worthwhile. But it isn't free, and the 8-hour ones kind of are free, and that makes them a lot more interesting in my mind.
All right, well, what are those?
So after Mage Armor, our number 4 is number 3, which is Aid. And Aid is a spell that I'm normally like, it's okay, it's fine, it's a place to dump extra spells in the upper tiers. With, again, Divine Soul or level in Cleric, sorcerers get this, and it lasts the 8 hours, but it also upcasts, which means you can spend a missing 8th level spell with an extend spell on it. And all of a sudden, you're giving the whole group a truckload of bonus starting hit points and still not spending any spell slots on that. This is one of the few ways to like really cheat at upper level spells. Now, there's an upper level spell on this list that I've never been high on that does deserve the slot because it is a higher level spell than even 8th. Spoilers, but like Aid is an option that lets you basically bank whatever your highest level spell slot is and just give the whole group extra hit points for that reason. You can do it in multiples, so you can give the whole group, like, you get 6 hit points, or you all get a 6th level version of hit points, we all get a 5th level version of hit points, 2 expended spells, take a long rest, everyone's getting a bunch of free hit points functionally. That seems great. All of it comes together just to be like a passive party bump as long as you're doing it before or right before a long rest, which again isn't impossible to engineer. And the flexibility of like, well, we did get through an adventure, I only have a 2nd level slot before we rest. I mean, I can still just give everyone a free aid, or at least 3 people a free aid or whatever. And that only costs me a 2nd level slot, but it's always doing something. That's pretty good.
Yeah. All right. These are gonna start to sound similar, but what do we got next?
This is definitely one of the meta magic, I think, that this is an easy point before I repeat myself a whole lot to say. Its utility will be baked into more of how the DM runs things than how a player can run things.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the scope of a lot of the ones we're not touching on. The 10-minute and hour-long duration ones mainly. If your DM does have a pretty clean time frame of how long they want dungeons to take, if you can go into it knowing that, oh, I have a DM that has 20-minute adventures is what they tend to be, a doubling 10-minute spell can be great. You might have a DM that has dungeons that last 5 hours, and all of a sudden you're doubling to 10, 20 doesn't matter at all. You might have a DM that runs 50-minute dungeons, And it's still not going to be that effective. And the hour-long one doubling still might not be effective there. But if you're doubling the 2-hour and the 5-hour dungeon, maybe that becomes effective. It's all nebulous and in the realm of the DM. And you can kind of ask, if I use extended spell here, will I get it for another encounter? And the DM can say, probably. So that's why this is... The options that we're talking about are the ones that you're going to guaranteed get value out of. Ones that will guarantee you extra power, where a lot of the other doubling of durations aren't that in any way, shape, or form. Moving on anyway.
Yes.
Another one that we're cheesing is Death Ward. This one we've seen pop up a lot as far as, hey, I can do this without it costing a spell slot. That makes it a lot better. This happens in 2 of the Warlock subclasses because they can short rest and then get their 8-hour spell after that to have 7 hours of spell left. This can do the same thing. You put down Death Wards on people with extended spell, it goes from 8 to 16 hours, you long rest, it stays up. What more could you want?
Well, could you do this as a sore lock, as the younger kids say? Short rest, like cast it before short rest, and get even more time out of it.
Sure could.
Yeah.
Then you'd have 15 hours of it. Do you need 15 hours over 8 hours? Now we're back into the big question of, is extended spell even good? But yeah, you could do that. I would say 7 and 15 hours probably look pretty similar at an average adventuring table. But hey, if you really want 15-hour Death Wards, why not? This being a 4th level spell and being kind of a thing you could just dunk on the whole party, that's going to be great. I rate it higher than Aid because this can keep action economy alive. But honestly, it's probably dealer's choice as to which of these two are better. I like Death Ward more because I think it can look like it. Like, I'll feel the impact of a Death Ward more than I will of an Aid. As in, like, I'll see it prevent me from going down, whereas an Aid, it's a little bit more like, oh, well, I'm now at 5, and I forget about the 38 hit points that happened 12 attacks ago. So that's why I like it a little bit more. But again, reasonable people can disagree on this placement, for sure.
All right, and our number 1.
I hate the spell. I'm on record with that.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I think it's kind of cool.
A lot of people like the spell.
I even like the thematics behind it.
It's Foresight.
Yes.
It is a 9th level spell you can cheese. As it turns out, going from spending a 9th level spell on this effect to no spell slot on this effect, huge jump in power. Goes from something I'm not that high on because it's competing with my Meteor Swarms, competing with my Wishes, to something that I just get once a long rest for free.
Yeah.
It's kind of that. It's once before an adventure for free. And in that world, it's insanely good. It even is the kind of thing where it's like, oh, I have a bickering ranger and druid ranger and fighter in the party that bow with my foresight. Okay, boys, don't fight. You both get a foresight this long rest, right? That's the kind of effect that it has. And then you've got a 9th level spell that you duplicated. And duplicating 9th level spells is yucky good. So yeah, this gets the pick. Fun fact, you could also twin foresight. So, maybe do that instead. But this has the potential to be free. So if anything that has the potential to be free, especially when it costs a 9th level spell slot, especially when giving advantage on everything a character's going to do for 8 hours, yeah, it's going to be disgusting if you're allowed to rest afterwards.
And with any of these spells, we got Aid, Foresight, Mage Armor, Death Ward. Like, yes, you can do the cheese thing, cast it before you rest. You got it for the beginning of the day. Or, like I said, this is only costing 1 point. Any of these 8-hour spells, you can just cast it straight up, Metamagic it, extend it, and you've got it essentially all day. If you've got encounters in the morning and then encounters in the evening, you're covered.
Again, I do think Foresight shows that off the best, right? Where it would be I don't know what's going to happen today. I'm going to have Foresight the whole day, though. And this gives you a guarantee of that. There's none of the DM going to be like, all right, you went to the gala ball. There's 4 hours of downtime. You go, well, how long was the gala? They go 5 hours. You go, crap. I wasted my 9th level spell slot on social encounters. Nope, you're having for the fights that happen in the evening, too. And you're good to go for that. Kind of a nice little umbrella for it.
It's ironic that the spell you picked for when you don't know what's going to happen during the day is Foresight.
I still rate this quite low. I don't think extend spell outside of these kinds of 8-hour duplicating effects is that powerful. And there will be real circumstances where you'll end a long rest with 0 spell slots. And this will just have to be a way to sort of increase the duration of a thing. That being said, as a 2nd or 3rd or 4th Metamagic, I can absolutely see it making on my sheet, especially if I already had some of these. If I want a way to get myself, if I'm finding I want a way to have more spell slots for an adventure, and I have to cast Mage Armor a lot, yeah, I think extended spells a great 3rd Metamagic to pick up in the mid tiers. Just bolster out your sheet a little bit. Again, especially if you're Divine Soul.
All right, agreed. This is not. I mean, like we said in the what was the first one we did? Transmuted spell. Even the ones that made the bottom of your list are never bad. Always there are uses for them.
Yeah, and you will definitely find fringe cases where doubling a 10-minute spell to 20 minutes suddenly becomes amazing. Even you'll find fringe cases where I need 2 minutes of haste, and that you can get 2 minutes of haste with this. I think this is the kind of effect that you should plan to use it for these kinds of effects, and then you'll incidentally find that because you have it, other spells that have those middling durations have spontaneous uses that aren't foreseen that make it a lot more interesting. So, like, while we're not talking up any of those effects, there is going to be sometimes in some games that it will pop up. So
yes, I guess it's important to reiterate, this is not meant to be a comprehensive list. This is Sam's top picks, in this case for a very specific reason. Yes, there will be other
2 reasons. Aura Vitality is a unique case.
Yes, with that one, I kind of forced on you.
It was good. It's good to include that because that is a meaningful upgrade. Commenters down below, let me know what other spells like Aura Vitality I may have missed that do benefit from increased durations like this. Specifically, I'm looking for out of combat, right? Because like you could say, oh, Dragon's Breath, you get 20 burning heads instead of 10. You only needed 4. So like I don't really care that I would get more uses of Dragon's Breath than I would in the case of Aura Vitality. So what spells am I messing with it? What spells should be in this top 10?
Yeah, out of combat, but also, I mean, we don't know everything. Also, combat spells that maybe we overlooked something.
Sure. Let me know if you're having 20 round encounters. That'd be a slog.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying specific instances that we may have overlooked that not the 10 to 20 minutes because my DM runs multiple encounters every 5 minutes. No. I'm saying.
Oh,
what?
I've got another one.
Uh-oh.
This is not
bonus round.
Else. Yeah, bonus round. This is an example of one that's going to be mentioned in combat that double in ways that I'm thinking of. Blade Ward is a cantrip that I have never once rated highly, but doubling its duration from 1 round to 2 rounds is kind of cute. Now, does that work with this?
Whoa. That this has got a minimum of a minute.
Never mind. I got excited for a half second that there maybe was an application for Blade Ward. My bad. Yeah, it has to have at least a duration of a minute or longer. Yep, you're right. All right, well, you have a lot of work to do, commoners. What good spells exist in the scenario Bob painted?
Yes. All right. Well, that was our extend spell Metamagic video. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for watching. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.